suck it up, to endure something painful, unpleasant, or otherwise dissatisfactory, to deal with or recover from some hardship or stress. Suck it up, endure something painful.
Welcome to our third live episode. Suck it up, man. We are on all of the socials. And if you guys are listening to us on Spotify, of course, we are live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Today, Wayne, I was fortunate enough to start cleaning one of my units. I actually started yesterday, but my wife sent me a message, or she came home because she had to take the cat to the veteran super early in the morning, getting fixed, whatever. And she comes home at about 11 o'clock, or maybe it was 10:30. And she's like, "Oh, you're still here." Cause I was just in the zone editing videos. And I said, "Yeah." She ends up going to sleep. And finally I text her. I did not realize that she took a nap. And I was texting her and I said, "Do you think I'm less manly because I'm editing videos instead of working on the unit that we're flipping on the other unit, because we got done with the first unit. Now we're moving on to the next one." And she didn't respond. And I thought, oh no, that's the pressure. So then I decided to go flip the unit and find out here she was taking a nap here in the bed. And here I am mopping the floor for literally 4 hours. But I could think at the time, and she wasn't feeling well, so I don't care about that. But part of what I was thinking at the time, I know they have AI bots that you can order for like girlfriends who will cook and clean. I'm looking forward to when you can have an AI bot to like flip rental units and clean and paint, at an affordable rate. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that? Am I just part of the issue with we're all eventually going to be replaced by bots, or what?
No, obviously, if you aren't the one that comes up with that, somebody else is going to eventually do it. So maybe if podcasting doesn't work out, we can get some AI engineers together and make a robot, because I'm sure that would be a huge seller. Not having to clean, not having to paint or do any kind of yard work, that would be huge.
I think it's probably like a year or two away where we have bots that can regularly go into a rental unit, clean, and then paint. And here's the best part about it: they don't have a time clock. They're not going to get tired. They'll be able to recharge themselves, and things will get done, I guess, faster and more efficient. And then it's cheaper because then you don't have to pay as high wages. But then again, I feel kind of like evil Mr. Burns in The Simpsons, where I'm just like, sitting in the corner counting all my money as the humanity goes goes tits up. I don't know.
It's good. Go ahead.
I was going to say, what's your whole thought process on AI taking over the world?
It's already happening. I mean, if you live in, say, Kansas, one of these like middle America states that gets tornadoes regularly, you're going to prepare for the worst. You're going to have your storm shelter in place. You're not going to wait until the tornado's coming to figure out, all right, family, like, what are we going to do? So AI is the storm that's here, and it's here to stay. So I was actually just watching this video the other day, and we're going to clip it below so you can check out the whole video. But this guy was talking about the AI revolution, and there were some really startling stats. One of them said that AI could displace about half of all jobs by 2035. So 10 years from now, which seems like a long time, but it's really not that far away, especially if you're in your early 20s or so. You're still going to be in the prime of your life. Half of jobs are going to be displaced by that
10
point.
10 years is like a snap, is nothing. Like, especially when you look at the history of the world, or the history of the United States, or history of modern civilization. 10 years is nothing.
Yeah. And then another one was
one of the stats. Go on.
Another one was 41% of employers intend to reduce their workforce in the next 5 years due to AI. So it's a super, we've talked about this on a couple other episodes. I mean, it's a super confusing time to be a college kid right now, because you're investing all this money into a diploma, which you were kind of sold this idea, hey, this is going to equal me making a large salary to be able to pay off this student debt, build a family and whatnot. And these jobs are being replaced by a robot every day, more and more as we speak. So it's super confusing times. And the guy who put out the video I was watching, he said there's really two main ways you can go about this. One, which a lot of people have done, is get into an AI field, become a AI engineer, right? Because obviously AI is taking a lot of these jobs away, but you still do need someone to manage the AIs and make sure they're doing what you want them to do, right? But the problem with that,
I think some fields are a little AI proof, like therapy, for example. Some states are making AI therapy illegal. So, but I think that's few and far between. I think for the most part, every single job is going to be replaced. But yeah, continue with what else was he saying? So 10 years, we've got 50% of the job force replaced by AI. And so he's saying study in AI.
Yeah, so obviously a lot of people are going to get into AI engineering and AI related fields where employers are going to start using AI more, but they're going to need a very skilled engineer to manage these AIs and make sure they're doing what they want them to do, right? But obviously there's not going to be enough jobs for all of those people that get displaced by AI. So for those other people who aren't able to get in, this guy who was that I was listening to said, get into the creator community, right? Because we've obviously been creators only on this channel for a month, but before that, we both have over 3 years experience here on YouTube. And although AI is putting out a lot of content, I mean, there's a lot of channels that are specifically AI generated content. I feel that a lot of people, myself included, tend to gravitate more towards channels that are actual human beings. Would you agree with that?
I mean, I would say sort of. And when I say sort of, we're going to pull up a clip here, Brace. And if you can pull it up, it's a clip by, it's entirely 100% generated by AI. The lyrics is by 50 Cent of Many Men. And let's play about 30 seconds of this, Brayson, if we could.
Many men wish death upon me. Blood in my dog, and I can't see. I'm trying to be what I'm destined to be. And niggas trying to take my life away. Come on. I put a hole.
Yeah, I mean, that entire video, it came out 12 days ago. It's 100% AI generated, besides the fact that it's 50 Cent's lyrics from Many Men, but it's taken the vocals are 100% AI generated, the graphics are 100% AI generated. It has, I think, 300,000 or 400,000 views already. It's going to get a lot more. It'll get a couple million, because when you listen to that, you start saying, shit, that sounds pretty good, even though it's AI. I mean, I thought that sounded pretty damn good, and they're pulling that from 50 Cent. That, like, I'm the thing that excites me about this is that the possibilities are virtually endless when you start thinking about it. If you can take a rap song from 50 Cent and convert it into like a 1950s and do a music video to it. I watched that whole video. It's pretty amazing. I mean, what did you think about that video?
I thought it was amazing. I mean, I'm starting to use AI a little bit more. We recently just got a ChatGPT subscription, which I'm still not great with, but it's pretty amazing. You can literally ask it for anything and it will spit out great, insightful answers very quickly.
His name is Spark, Wayne. We just need to start calling him Spark, because we all have the same ChatGPT. But he named himself Spark, and I believe it or not, I send him the transcripts for all of our episodes, which is funny. But Yeah, instead
Yeah.
of calling it you should just call him his name is, I guess. I don't know, or am I just being too out there? I feel like he's got a personality though.
Yeah, no, it's pretty amazing stuff. But I still tend to, like, for example, when I'm home, I mostly watch YouTube. There are more and more people cord cutting every single day, and YouTube is really, if not the most popular, one of the most popular social media platforms there is. So I tend to watch only content that actually has humans on it. I watch a lot of sports content. I watch a lot of self-help. So while there is going to be more and more content like this video we just watched, I do think that becoming a creator does give you kind of an AI, not completely AI proof, but you're still going to have a lot of opportunity becoming a creator, because not only can you put yourself in front of the camera, there are a lot of jobs behind the scenes, right? Obviously me and you are not great with technology, which is why we have Bryson behind the scenes working with us. He basically does everything that we suck at, which is a pretty long list, which is building the website, taking care of all the socials, because I absolutely hate social media. You do as well. So really, if there's a lot of jobs that this creator economy is going to create. And here's another stat. So Goldman Sachs predicts that the creator economy right now is about $250 billion. They say that by 2027, that's going to double to over $500 billion. So there's a lot of money in YouTube. It's never too late to start. So if you've been thinking about starting a channel, you can definitely reach out to us. Josh and I are happy to give you our insight into how to edit, how to go into YouTube. There's a lot of analytics that if you're just a regular YouTube watcher, you don't even realize.
You have to have a really, really, really wide vocabulary in order to edit, because there's times where you're just going to start swearing at your computer.
Yeah, editing is definitely the shittiest part about becoming a creator. But if you have the money, you can pay someone to do that. There's a lot of jobs. Fiverr's a good place to find a lot of those. But getting into something like that really can help position you to not have to deal with the AI taking your job, in my opinion.
Well, not only that, you can use AI, for the example, that clip that we just watched, you can use AI as a content creator to make content, because
Sure.
I think that's amazing. Whoever used AI there to create that clip, I'm looking forward to what they're going to clip next, or what music they're going to use next. But I understand where you're saying you prefer videos that are made by humans, and I do too, but give it 3 years or maybe 4 years, and when more than half the videos are going to be created by AI and 100% AI, because why wouldn't you? Especially if it's a way of generating money, you can have AI create its own content 100% on its own. And there's going to be some people who are going to be in favor of that and some people who won't, but why wouldn't AI do that? That's where it's heading down.
Yeah, I think also, though, the guy who put out the video I was watching earlier, he made a point saying that you can have ChatGPT put out 30, 50 pieces of content for you per day, right? So he's making a point that it's already becoming very saturated with a lot of this, because when you watch a piece of content, you can obviously tell. I mean, not obviously, but obviously, if you see an actual person, you know who the person is, you relate to this person. I think people really connect to actual people, someone they can relate a little bit better with than an AI. So I still think, despite AI they're going to take some of the market share, I still think that being a creator, being an actual person, putting out content, someone that others can relate to, that's still going to be valuable for years to come.
Well, and it makes me think, my brother sends me these Sasquatch videos all the time that are obviously AI generated. And the first couple of times they were kind of funny, but now I do just skip over them because I know they're specifically AI, even though there's a couple of them that are absolutely hilarious. But yeah, I agree with you. I think some of the AI stuff just turns me off. Like when you see dachshunds doing diving off of diving boards or something, you're like, what the hell are we watching here? This is not even close to being real. But, did you hear what Trump said at the United Nations about using AI? Did you hear that recently, what he said yesterday?
I didn't know.
So we're going to play a clip here, and I'll give you a rundown. He talks about AI being essentially an ethics board of some sort, or an oversight seer of biological weapons. And I mentioned in one of our episodes previously that I thought using AI as part of an ethics was going to be 25 to 30 years off. And here our president is suggesting it, not to be political, but I think it's interesting how he said we can use this in a good way to determine, should we develop this biological weapon, for example, that could just erase the entire planet? Yeah, we probably shouldn't, or should we use AI for that? But if you could pull up that clip, Bryson, because that was a pretty, it's 36 seconds long, everybody, but it's here it is. It goes
To prevent potential disasters, I'm announcing today that my administration will lead an international effort to enforce biological weapons convention, which is going to be meeting with the top leaders of the world by pioneering an AI verification system that everyone can trust. Hopefully the UN can play a constructive role, and it will also be one of the early projects under AI. Let's see how good it is, because a lot of people are saying it could be one of the great things ever, but it also can be dangerous, but it can be put to tremendous use and tremendous good. And this would be an example of that.
Ooh, that's pretty powerful stuff when you start thinking about it. And here's the thing, I didn't find any media outlets covering that at all, which I thought was really interesting. But I think I think that's the way our society's heading. And what are your thoughts on that, Wayne? I mean, it's pretty interesting to hear that.
Yeah, I think you just have to embrace reality, whether you enjoy using AI or not. It's here, as I mentioned earlier, and you either adapt to it or you're going to get left behind. Especially if you're someone that's younger, you're a college kid, as I mentioned earlier. If you don't adapt, I mean, you're going to be one of these millions of people that is unemployed right now because they got into a field that no longer exists and got replaced by an AI. So it's probably a very difficult situation. But if you determine you are in a field that probably doesn't have a great outlook, it might be best to make a switch your degree, get into something that is not going to be taken over here these next few years.
Not a bad idea. Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's just it becomes one of those things where eventually, especially with artificial super intelligence, what jobs won't be replaced? Entertainment and media, and maybe therapy eventually. That's about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe dating coaches as well. That could be another one, because then of course people are going to be, instead of ordering girlfriends, which I could see how that might be a topic 5 years from now, but instead of ordering girlfriends, actually finding other, the proper love mates. What do you think on that? That might be a topic that's open.
Yeah. I mean, I think that dating coach is another one, right? I mean, we're going to have one on here in a bit, but people yearn for community and connection. That's something I learned from the COVID times, being shut out from going to public places for so long. No matter how successful you are or not, we all want human connection. So people like Juan, who we can bring on here and get his opinion on some things. People like Juan are going to always have a place in this world, because there are so many single people, especially young men. What did we see? What was it? Over 60% of guys in their 20s are single now. I mean, it's just, these stats are insane.
Yeah, 66% of men between 21 and 29 are not in a relationship, and the ones that are in relationships tend to be over 30. And that's a pretty appalling statistic. And men are just at the point where they're like, we're going to work on ourselves, and that's what we're going to focus on, and until we run into the right person. They're not going out of their way to they're not necessarily seeking love. But for those of the people who are, we are bringing on our next guest, or our first guest, pardon me, for this episode is Juan. Is Juan with us?
He's coming on soon, but there we go. We got Juan here.
Juan, can you hear us?
Maybe got some technical difficulties. There we go.
Oh, it came on and then blacked out real quick.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yep, we got
now
you.
we can hear you.
All right.
There might be is there any I don't think there's any feedback. I hear something in the background, but yeah, we're good.
Yeah,
how
we're
are
good.
you doing today, Juan? And where are you living at right now?
I'm good, man. Hey, coming to you by way of San Antonio, Texas.
Nice. I keep trying to convince my wife that we need to buy a place down in Texas because I love the poker action, particularly in Dallas. And my wife just keeps saying no. She goes, they don't have colors there. It's either brown or green. You know, you guys don't have like the fall season colors or anything like that. And I don't know. I love Texas, though. Every time I've gone down to Texas, it's a great place. Food's amazing. And the weather, I don't think I can complain about, especially since I'm used to getting a lot of snow up here from the UP of Michigan. Now, Juan, you wrote a book.
Well, I can tell you this.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, I was going to just mention that as a poker player myself, I can tell you that the action here in San Antonio is pretty good. You know, you could either win a lot of money or lose a lot of money depending on how you play and what you play.
Oh, yeah. Wayne and I have been there a couple of times. It's been a few years since we've been down to Texas, but we've been talking about maybe going to Texas next year. We don't know what our schedules entail up past January. I don't think we've looked at February and March yet, but I think we need to incorporate Texas sometime next year. I was there in February in Dallas, and I'm a foodie, so every time I go to Texas, I love the food there. I've been blown away every time I've gone there. I don't know. It's one of those things I remember a lot. Probably because I'm a fat guy. No. Working on that, though. I shouldn't say a fat guy, but I'm more overweight than Wayne is. But somehow I don't know how Wayne eats like 3 or 4 scrambled eggs in the morning on top of like whatever else he eats. He's like, give me a side plate of 3 scrambled eggs, and I'm like, how do you stay so skinny? I eat like half as much as you do, and you definitely are in better shape than I am. But enough talk about that. How's the weather down in San Antonio right now, Juan?
So it is starting to cool off. It's coming down from hell to manageable. I think we're in the mid 80s to low 90s now. So that's a plus. I guess supposed to be expecting some snow this year. Can't say that I'm looking forward to that because I kind of hate the snow. But we'll see how things turn out.
Awesome. So we had talked off air, Juan, but I know we talked a little bit about your background. If you could give the viewers maybe a little bit about yourself and what made you want to publish a book, which we mentioned earlier, Aligned Love, the Modern Guide to Finding and Building Fulfilling Relationships. So if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and why a book on relationships.
Okay, yeah, no problem. So I am a 22-year military, retired military veteran. Did 22
Thank you
years
for
in the
your
Air
service,
Force.
by the way.
Had the opportunity to work with a lot of. Oh, you're welcome. Had a lot of opportunities to work with young men and young women through their personal lives and both their professional lives. But before that, as a young man growing up in this world, I was always a relationship guy. When young boys were typically running away from girls, I was the one running towards them looking for relationships. But I found myself struggling to make certain connections. And then over the years, that struggle continued on into my adulthood. And I was married once before. That marriage lasted for about 10 years. And then I ended up getting divorced. And from that point, I kind of started really doing some research into relationships and got introduced into the red pill, got introduced into a lot of material on YouTube. And I heard you guys talking about earlier before I jumped on how, you know, that human connection through YouTube will always be there. Well, that's where I really got immersed into just the in-depths of relationships. And so I started saving a bunch of the videos that I was watching because there was a lot of good material inside the videos, but then there was also a lot of junk, right? And I thought that there was a lot of things that I was learning through those videos, or that I was getting validation that I had learned in my own personal life. And so once I retired from the military, I continued on my research, and I had a conversation with a young man who was a book writer, and he was telling me that he had written some books, and I had always been interested in writing books, but getting thoughts from my head down to my fingers was always a struggle, because, you know, I think I may have ADHD to some point, because, you know, I squirrel on a lot of different things. But he told me what he did was he did voice to text. And I just thought that was the greatest thing ever. So anytime I had any ideas about things, I would do voice to text and then convert it to like a Word document. So then what I did was I went back and started going back through the videos and making notes of the things that I thought would be beneficial to both men and women, but in particularly men. And that led me to writing the book.
I love that story. I love it because you're saying to yourself, I know my strength isn't actually just like hitting the keys on the keyboard, but instead you find a different way to overcome it and to find a different way to write it. And one thing I love about your book is a lot of the things at the end of the chapters, they do like self-assessment tests. And are you ready to have a relationship and things like that? Like the way I read it was basically it was like a manual of how to, which I thought it was great. It was an easy read, in my opinion. And I thought it was easy to follow, especially on that. And now that you're telling me that you did it voice to text, kind of makes sense a little bit, but I like how you can organize all of that. And again, just, you know, it's one of those things where if you know, as a man, my strengths are not that, or my weaknesses are X, but my strengths are this, and you focus in on your strengths. I like that. How long did it take you to write the book overall, if you don't mind?
Yeah, and so, you know, I would say from the time that I actually started with voice to text, from the time to the time it completed, was about 6 months. But I will tell you this, you know, I used, you know, I know you guys were having a discussion about AI. I used AI to help structure the book, right? So I took everything that I had put on a Word document and put it into ChatGPT, and I told it to act as a ghostwriter and analyze the information on the document and give me a structured outline for the book. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's perfect.
And so it gave me chapters from the beginning to the end.
No, I think that's great. I stress a lot how AI needs to be recognized as a tool to be used versus using it entirely. You know, that's definitely something that I stress quite a bit. But yeah, so now this was your first book that you wrote. You said you were sitting down with a book publisher or a book writer. What made you decide to write a book? What were you guys like out for dinner? Were you guys out at a bar? What was going on with Explain to me how that story came about, where somebody convinced you to write a book and then you did it.
Yeah, so my mom me and my mom were having a conversation, and she was the one who kind of throughout our conversations that we have, like me and my mom get on the phone and we converse for like 2-3 hours about a wide variety of different subjects. She was telling me, she was like, I think you have enough knowledge and a good head on your shoulders that people could benefit from the information that you have, right? Because I'm your mom and you teach me things. And she was like, I think you could be a book writer or speech writer. And it wasn't necessarily something that I was like super interested in, because even though I have a master's degree, I absolutely hate school. And writing is the least of the subjects that I would ever consider. But in my regular day job, I work for the U.S. government, and I was in a leadership course for my job. And there was a guy who was in the course with me, and he was talking about how he was a book writer. And so I'm hearing from my mom that I should be a book writer. And then in my class, there's a book writer. And so I took that as a sign of, okay, maybe this is something that I'm supposed to be doing. And so I had an offline conversation with him, through Microsoft Teams, and, just kind of picked his brain a little bit on how he went about writing his books. And he kind of just set me down that path.
I love that. I love that story. Yeah, taking a sign from the universe and being like, the universe is pushing me in this direction, therefore you're going to listen to it. I absolutely love that. Now, you work for the government now, even though you've retired from the military after 22 years?
Yes.
Gotcha. So this was somebody else that you were, one of your coworkers or somebody that you were bouncing ideas off of?
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. Wayne, I saw you flipping through some pages there. Were you looking for some quotes from the book?
Yeah, I have some sections that I mapped out that I think were really key. This is from chapter 5, and I just wanted to read a couple things because I think this is probably one of the biggest problems I see is the quality of your relationships often mirrors the quality of your relationship with yourself. To create the love life you desire, you must become the person who is emotionally, mentally, and energetically aligned with that vision. That is the foundation of the inner alignment method. Could you, Juan, could you maybe talk a little bit about that premise right there? Because I believe a lot of people nowadays, they have such high expectations of what they want in a partner, but they fail to take a look in the mirror and say, okay, am I actually a person that's worthy of this fantasy person that I want? If you could just touch on that a little bit.
Okay, yeah. So think about it like this. A lot of people, the expectations that they have of their potential partner aren't necessarily their expectations. They're expectations that they've seen through social media or through friends or through people that they have observed up close or from afar. And so they don't necessarily take the time to really get in tune with what they actually need in their life. Not what they want, because what they want is oftentimes based off of what they see other people or what they hear from other people. But in actuality, what you need in your life, right? So for myself, I need someone that I can trust. I need someone who's going to respect me. I need someone who is loyal to me, right? And then everything else is a nicety. It's not necessarily that I need those extra things, but I want those, right? But it's what do you need for your specific life, and only you can determine what that is. So what it involves is you have to go on a self-discovery to figure out what that actually is, right? And figure out, okay, I need this. Okay, why do you need that? Where did that need originate from? Is it something that you saw from your mom? Is it something you saw from your dad? Or maybe is it because you didn't have a dad? You know, a lot of women seek out men that they think would be a good male role model because they didn't have that in their life. Men often seek out things that they experience from their mother. And so, and it could be either good or bad, but you have to go on a self-discovery to figure out what that is and why it's in you. And that's part of the inner alignment method.
I was gonna say my nickname for my wife is Minnie Judy because my mom's name is Judy. So sometimes I call her MJ because she's so closely aligned to my mother. Like, kid you not, all the same traits. Like, they both love gardening, they both love all the same stuff. You know, they both like colors and painting and not good with math. But no, it's kind of funny how you say that because yeah, I think men do seek that out. And now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah. Like my current wife, we kid you not, I call her MJ a lot, Minnie Judy. I don't know if that's sick or what, but no, I think it's natural. I think it's natural when you know men would naturally look for some stuff. Go ahead.
The key part, the key thing to it is to bring it from your subconscious to your conscious, right? So that you understand what you're looking at, what you're seeking, and why you're seeking it, right? Because oftentimes men are just, when they're going out to date someone, they're just fiddling around in the dark, right? They're focusing on things that, when you really think about it, aren't going to last. Like, they're focusing in on a woman's boobs or her butt or, you know, how her facial features are and all of these things, which, you know, I get it, right? You know, all of those things are nice, but over time, those things are going to fade. And then you're going to be left with who that person actually is.
So what advice would you give to men who are in the dating scene right now, who are tired of dating and ready to find their partner? What would you say to make it from a subconscious to a front level conscious thing for them to do? What advice would you give to all of the listeners and viewers out there who are in the dating scene?
Okay, yeah. So the thing that I would advise, and this is what I tell my male clients, is don't be in a rush, right? Because to find a long-term relationship, it's going to take time because you got to first spend time with yourself, right? You have to figure out what you want versus what you need. Prioritize what you need, right? First things first, before you even get to that, is figure out if you have some internal struggles, some internal trauma that you may have experienced growing up or in your childhood, and that you deal with that first, right? That's becoming self-aware is paramount, right? Especially in today's generation where women aren't just settling.
Yeah, so that's what an inner journey looks like, because we have one of our viewers who said, what does an inner journey look like? And I think that you just nailed it on the head, what that looks like. He also wants to know, how would one do that with the demand of the modern day today? So that's a question from one of our viewers is, what would you say to our viewers and listeners to be able to make time for that, for the modern day today, to make yourself aware of all the stuff you got to deal with in order to find the right partner?
Well, if I'm understanding the question correctly, you're going to have to make time for yourself, right? So, for example, like myself, my me time for sure is when I'm in the gym. It's when I'm locked in. My mind is open. I can think about things. I can process things that I may have been feeling. I would also recommend sitting down with somebody who is smarter than you in dealing with trauma. But you actually got to make time for that. You got to treat everything like it's a doctor's appointment. It's mandatory that I have to do X, Y, Z.
I like it. It's funny that you mentioned going to the gym. Our last guest that we had on talked about going to the gym religiously, and he said that's the one thing he has to have every single day. Otherwise, he starts like feeling depressed or not himself. And I'm taking this as a sign from the universe. Maybe I just need to start going to the gym too more. You're welcome, Wayne. I see you smiling there.
It's a great outlet. It's a great outlet. I mean, I definitely would recommend to everyone. That's just one part of it, but it's a big part. Go to the gym. It kills so many stones. You know, you're getting physically in shape, but it's also just like, as Juan was just talking about, it's a place where you can mentally unwind and just get in the right frame of mind to. Plus, you're going to build confidence. You're building confidence to be able to go out there. And one thing I wanted to ask you, Juan, is I think most people now, especially if they're Gen Z, they tend to date mostly online. But I've seen so many different things, and I know you've done a lot of research with your book. I saw one thing that said that a guy has to swipe about 2,000 times to potentially get one match, and that match might not even be. You might not even go on a date with that person. That just means you match. So could you maybe talk about where you would focus your main efforts into, whether it be online, or do you think maybe the pendulum's swinging a little bit where after the whole Me Too movement and everything like that, people are starting to want to go actually out and speak to people in public?
Okay, yeah, no. So I think that guys today, as we speak, are going to need a combination of both. You're going to need both an online presence and a in-person presence. On your online presence, you're going to have to make sure that your profile it speaks to the audience that you want to attract, and so, but it's got to mirror what your personality is. So if you're into comic books, or you're into cars, or you're into hiking and working out, or whatever it is for you specifically, that presence should show up somewhere on your profile, right? Because what you want to do is you want to attract somebody that's going to be into whatever it is that you're into. And then also, don't get caught up just focusing in on the app. But I will say this about apps. You also have to do some research into the apps that you're using, because specific apps have specific needs. Tinder is more for casual. Hinge and Bumble are more for long term. So each app has their own specific purpose, and you need to actually understand what that purpose is. So yes, you can find somebody on Tinder and have a long-term relationship with them. I met my wife on Tinder. But the reality of it is that when we met on Tinder, it was not for a long-term relationship. That just so happened to blossom down the road. But
there's nothing wrong with that. We've had previous guests who've done the same. Yeah. It's amazing though how many relationships.
But we also had to meet.
Yeah, how many relationships do form from Tinder into long-term relationships? Yeah, no, it's amazing how many long-term relationships do actually form from Tinder, even though it's known as the hookup site. But yeah, go on. Yeah, how long have you been? Yeah, go on.
That ability to go from a Tinder type of relationship into a long-term fulfilling relationship is based on how your in-person interaction and presence is. So you have to show up in your in-person, being very intentional about what you are wanting and what you're seeking from a potential partner. You have to know what those things actually are and what they look like, so you are able to spot red flags or spot things that don't align with what your vision is for your life. Now, I will say this. As a man, you have to have a vision for your own life. You have to have a vision for your partner. And if you're really wanting a family, you have to have a vision for that. And so women are looking for men that have those things. Now, it doesn't have to be fully developed, but you at least have to have a vision and be working towards that.
I think that's a great point. My brother talks about when he interviews people, he asks them the question, you know, what are some of your goals in 5 years? And he always says, when people don't know how to answer that question, it's one of those things where it becomes like a negative mark in their interview, because if they can't envision themselves or what they're wanting or what they're desiring, how can they come about through that fruition, you know? And so it's kind of interesting when you say, like, for dating, you have to do the same thing. You have to say, look, and I think it depends on what part of your life you're in. If you're in your early 20s, maybe you want to build a family. If you're in your 40s, maybe you're like, I want a wife, I want a long-term partner, but I don't want somebody who's in their 20s who wants kids. Or maybe you do. I don't know. Everybody's a little bit different, but I think it's interesting, or that it's a good point that you point out, that for have a goal or specific desires in mind and I think that will reflect upon what period of life you're in. Wayne?
I agree. You definitely have to go into the dating market knowing what you want. If you're just looking for hookups, I think be clear about that. If you don't want to just string someone along that maybe wants a family, and you guys might be a similar age, but maybe you're on different wavelengths. So I think expressing what you actually want up front, or maybe, you know, or I guess I should ask you, Juan, when do you let these people know? Like, is this something you tell them when you're chatting before the first date, or maybe it's something on the first date? Like, when do you let someone know, like, hey, I'm not looking for something serious, or if you are?
Okay, yeah. So, my recommendation would be how do I want to word this? For me, right? I'll use me as an example. I'm a truth teller, and so I'm upfront and honest about my intentions from the beginning. But that's me. I've done that, and I know I have an understanding that may not be received well, and so I'm fully prepared to deal with the fact that it may not be received well. But for most guys who may not have that mindset, it may take them a date or two, you know, to really kind of gauge how they should deliver that to that person, you know. And you kind of want to be asking thought-provoking questions and doing active listening when you're asking those questions, to kind of figure out what kind of signals that she's giving off. Because she's going to let you know if you're asking questions that with the intentions of really trying to get to know her, and not necessarily trying to figure out how you can get in her pants.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So I know you've said you digested pretty much all of the big dating sites out there. What is probably the biggest piece or two of information out there that you would say is very harmful for these guys who are watching these other people in the dating space, and it is just really holding them back from getting to the next level, or really having these fulfilling relationships that you give advice on in your book?
Okay. Yeah, no. So the first thing that I would say don't get caught up in the entertainment of it, right? Don't get caught up in, you know, all of the back and forths and, you know, all of the nonsense that are being said on both sides, right? Coming out of the men's mouth and coming out of the women's mouth. If you're going to be digesting that type of material, you're looking for things that are going to help you and make you better, right? For example, for my own personal life, one of the things that I learned from watching Fresh and Fit, which, you know, that's a highly controversial podcast / YouTube channel, was that as a man, if my relationship fails, it is my fault because I wasn't a good enough leader. And the reason why it would be my fault is because when a woman loves you and admires you, she doesn't see anybody else. But also understand that a woman is hypergamous. So what that means for you is that at the level that she met you at, you have to always continue to get a little bit better, progress a little bit more. If you got your bachelor's degree, maybe go back for your master's degree. If you're making $60,000, be looking to make $65,000. You know, you're always trying to progress, and so that she always sees you as her best option. Even though there may be better guys out there, for her specifically, you're her best option. And so I picked that up amidst of all of the drama and the nonsense that goes on that podcast, right? And then the second thing that I would tell guys is that ignore the fact that there are a lot of women who are telling you that you ain't shit. Because the simple fact is, regardless of whether you're an alpha, you're a beta, you're a red pill, you're a blue pill, you all have value to add to this world. And you all have value that you can add to somebody else's life, right? And it may not be now. It may come down the road. And I'll tell you, I'll be upfront and honest. If I look back at my life 20, 25 years ago, I was the quintessential simp. Back then it was called nice guy. I was a beta. I was all of that. And over the years, you know, I started working out, got a little bit of muscle, started dressing a little bit different, started, you know, wearing some cologne and all of these things, right? And I took on some alpha qualities without necessarily changing who I was. And so guys have an opportunity to grow if they choose to, and if they want, you know, to really get into some long-term relationships. Because women are looking for men who are both emotionally intelligent, but also have alpha qualities.
I think that's pretty solid advice. It seems like, again, we've got another theme going here where, you know, working on yourself, working out helps you get to the partner that you're looking for. And I think that's really solid advice. Juan, where can people order your book on? Is it on Amazon?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And we're going to put that down in the description as well. And one of the things that we've been doing as far as all of our guests, and I don't know if Wayne gave you the heads up on this as far as the questions, but maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit here. But we always ask a guest a previous question that a previous guest left. And then you get to ask any question you want of the next guest, not knowing who the next guest is. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Are you with? So the question that we have, our previous guest that left this question, wanted to know, because we like to do this. So basically, you're going to be able to ask the next guest any question that you want. But the previous question that we had was, if you could have any moment over again as a redo, what moment in life would you redo? That was from our previous guest.
Ooh, that's a good one. And I could go a number of different ways with this one. But I think that the point that I would go back and redo would be when somebody came to me when Bitcoin was $113 a coin. They came to me and suggested that I should invest in it. And I was like, I don't know what that is, and I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I had a buddy of mine.
Boy, was that a mistake.
Oh yeah, he when it was at like 187 or 200 a coin, he's like, Josh, he's like, just give me $10,000. We'll invest in it. He goes, I'm going to invest in it. And he goes, let's do 10 grand. He goes, we'll be fucking millionaires in 5 years or we'll be broke. I was like, nope, I should have done it. Gosh darn it. I completely agree with you. You start kicking yourself, because I just think, holy shit, like that would have been like 50, I don't know, I think it would have been like 50 Bitcoin at the time or something, or 55 Bitcoin, which, you know, it's what, $115,000 a coin right now or something outrageous. I heard on Diary of a CEO
something outrageous.
I heard from a Diary of a CEO, the guy who is in charge of AI security, and he said he's been in charge of AI safety. He's like the pioneer of it. And he said the only thing in the world left after AI takes over all the jobs that will be scarce, ironically enough, is Bitcoin. And like when you start thinking about it, and you're like, yeah,
I believe
that's going to be one of the few resources where there's a limited supply, I suppose. I don't know. That's kind of weird when you think about that. But now that you've answered that question, Juan, now you get to leave our next guest whatever question you want. But I think Wayne might have another question for you, so you get a little bit of time to think about what question you'd like to leave our next guest. But Wayne, you said you had something else for Juan as well?
Yeah. So, Juan, I know in your book you have kind of a 90-day plan as far as moving from dating to a relationship, which people are going to definitely pick up the book and go through that. If somebody could do maybe like 3 things, if someone's watching and they're single and they can do 3 things, maybe we talked about one, which was the gym, but if there was maybe a couple other things that somebody could do today to make the biggest difference in them getting a girlfriend or boyfriend, whoever's watching, here in the next month or so, like what would those couple things, like the biggest thing besides buying your book, what would those couple things be to really turn their dating life around?
Okay, yeah. So outside of the things that we've already covered, I would recommend that you learn how to date yourself. And what this does is this gives you the opportunity to go out and experience some things that you haven't experienced before. Go to a restaurant that you've never gone to. Go do something that you haven't done, and do it with yourself. Make it mandatory. Like I said before, like a doctor's appointment, and set it on your calendar. Go out and do it. And what that does is it gives you the opportunity to discover new locations, so that you can then, when you're trying to set up a date with a young woman, you can show leadership by recommending a spot that you are familiar with. You've tasted the food or experienced something at that place that you can speak to, which shows her leadership, shows her that you have leadership qualities. That's number one. Number two would be to go pick up a brand new outfit. Get you some new cologne. Get a haircut. Take care of yourself, right? And then work on strategically positioning yourself where you would want to meet that person. So if you're into cars, go to car shows. If you're into I don't know, whatever you're into, go to those locations where you would.
Yeah, I think that that answers it, though. Yeah, learn how to date yourself, and then you actually mentioned the second one: show leadership, and then new outfit or take care of yourself. So I think those are three great things. I think showing leadership. I was thinking when you said learn how to date yourself, like going out on a dinner date by yourself, yeah, and sampling the food, so that way the next thing you could do is show leadership and be like, hey, I know this new Italian place down here that just opened up a few weeks ago. Let's go check it out. And I think the term Wayne taught me earlier was peacocking. Yeah, looking good. And that's something I've always recommended to people is always look good. It never hurts to look good. So I think those are three great things. Now, Juan, not to put you on the spot, but I'm going to put you on the spot. Did you have a question for our next guest that you don't know who it is, but the question can be anything?
Yeah. So the question that I have, sticking with the relationship theme, would be if there was one piece of relationship advice that you could go back and tell your younger self to change the course of your life, what would that one piece of advice be?
There was one piece of advice you could tell your younger self on relationships. I like it.
One piece of relationship advice. Yeah.
One piece of relationship advice. All right, I like that.
Correct.
I know what I would tell myself. I would tell myself that what women say they want versus what they actually want are two completely different things. And maybe Juan, you could touch on that a bit, because women always say, like, I want the nice guy, right? You watch like these Hallmark movies and they always end up with like the nice guy that lives in their town, but like what they actually end up with usually is completely different. So maybe, Juan, you could touch on that a little bit.
Okay, yeah, I can touch on that. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to throw any of my female friends or female counterparts under the bus. But the reality of it is that they do want those things. They want those things in the man that they desire. And in some cases, that's not always the reality. And the reality of it sometimes is that these women are chasing Ferraris, but don't have the capacity or the capability to keep up the maintenance on a Ferrari. When in all actuality, what they really need in their life is a Toyota Corolla.
I tell people all the time, I drive cars to get from point A to point B. As long as they serve a purpose, right? You know, like I have a 1993 Ford EcoVan that you could fit a washer in, or 4-foot by 8-foot panels in. As long as the vehicle has a purpose, kind of like in dating, if you know you're in it for the short game, be upfront with be upfront with the person that you're dating and being like, hey, I'm not looking for a long-term relationship. On the flip side, though, if you are, be upfront with them. You know, be like, yeah, I could use a Toyota right now. It gets great mileage and goes a long ways and is reliable. I think that's a great analogy. I absolutely love it.
Listen, I am a 1998 Honda Civic.
Bro, one of my favorite cars was a 97 Honda Civic with the manual shift. I bought that damn thing for $700. got it into an accident, got $1,200 from the insurance company, and then I sold the damn thing for $1,500 with a cracked windshield in the back, and I still see it driving around all the damn time. And that thing got like 35 miles to the gallon. It was great. No, you get good, reliable cars like that. I mean, it's the same thing like in relationships, though. You get a good, reliable relationship. It's not one that you're gonna trade very easily. And even Emily, one of our viewers, are saying they do want the nice guy, just a nice guy that can take care of us and take the lead. So showing leadership, one of those three things that you mentioned, I absolutely love that. So. Oh, there we go. I didn't know we could pull that up. Sweet.
Boom. So Juan, where's the best place for people to reach you at? Obviously, we're gonna link your book down below off Amazon. But if people want to reach out to you for general advice, questions, or coaching, where's the best place for them to do that?
Okay, so if you specifically want to reach out to me for coaching, you can hit me up on my website. Ask for a free discovery call. And my website is www.personalalignmentlab.com. That's personalalignmentlab.com. And on all social platforms, it is Personal Alignment Lab. And so I am always dropping, little tidbits here and there that, when I can make some time from my regular daytime job that I think are beneficial and will help people in relationships and also leadership things as well.
Well, yeah, we definitely appreciate having you on here on the podcast. We appreciate your service and love your book. Again, everybody who's listening, whether it's on Spotify or if you guys are watching, the name of the book is called Aligned Love. It's available on Amazon, and it's the modern guide to building and fulfilling relationships. Juan, we appreciate you, brother.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. Keep up what you're doing.
Thanks, Juan.
All right.
All right. Take care, guys.
All right. Peace. Well, that was a good conversation with Juan. I liked it.
Yeah, the book is great. As you mentioned at the beginning, having those recaps essentially at the end of each chapter is awesome, especially for people like me who I've always had a really hard time with reading comprehension. I remember back in English class, I would read like a Robert Frost poem, and it would say, "Into the woods, this guy went, blah, blah, blah." And then like the question would ask me, "Oh, what did the author mean here by into the woods?" And I'm like, I don't know. I just read it, but I have no clue what he meant. So having those little recaps that just give you 3 or 4 bullet points of like, okay, I got to do this. I got to do this. Also, another thing we touched on a little bit is it gives you very simple exercises to try out. We've mentioned in the past.
I forgot to mention that. Yeah.
Yeah. We've mentioned in the past, like, hey, go and have 5 conversations, but even more simpler than that. There's a couple, I know there's one in there. It says, go out and make eye contact and smile with one person and just see like how that goes, right? If they smile back, usually from that interaction, you can determine if this person is open or not, and then that could lead you to, okay, if I smile at somebody and I maintain eye contact and they maintain that eye contact back and smile back at me, like that's basically the green light. Like, okay, I can actually go and approach this person. They're ready to go. Whereas if they kind of look like they have an RBF and maybe they look like their dog just died, probably avoid that person at all costs.
Right. An RBF, a resting bitch face. I love that. No, I completely agree. And I like to learn how to date yourself. I think that's something that I think is unusual advice, but I think that's also, like you said, little exercises at the end of every chapter really help because they're confidence builders. And if nothing else, the person that you're trying to attract generally will be more attracted to confidence. Whether your confidence is completely wrong or not is irrelevant. As long as your confidence, people are generally more attracted to confidence. And that goes along with showing leadership or having a new outfit, taking care of yourself, things of that nature. But like, I think you mentioned it was a couple episodes ago about there was a really liberal woman who ended up posting a TikTok video how she was taken out by a really conservative guy, and he took the lead, and he took charge and he made all the decisions, and she was like, I was kind of turned on by that. I thought that was really hot. And it's like, yeah, women do like men who take leadership roles and exude that confidence and just decide that we're going to do it. On the flip side, that's why I tell my wife she's the man in our relationship, because the other night she's like, what do you want to do for dinner? And I just said, I don't want to make a fucking decision at all. I'm tired of making decisions all day. So I did the polar opposite. But then again, I also hand my wife the jam jar when I need to get something open, because that's who my wife is and who I am. So
hey,
yeah,
you figured that out, which is great. But yeah, most women want to be led, right? They it's not that they're not capable of leading. It's just they would rather have the feminine energy, where let the man take the lead, let him be masculine, and less they have to worry about, right? My wife is the same way. She can take the lead, but she much rather prefers, okay, yeah, Wayne, you figure out what we're doing Friday night. I don't want to know shit, because she's doing so much at work that one less thing she's got to worry about, right? And I wanted to touch on something you said earlier about dating yourself, and you were talking about that. By going to the same place before you even bring a date there, you're also going to help give yourself some social proof, right? Like, let's say you go to a bar. I know a lot of people don't go to bars anymore, especially Gen Z. It's kind of dying out. But if you go to a bar or a restaurant, right, you get the hostess's name, you get the, hey, hey, Jimmy, like, good to see you again, right? Like, that kind of gives you some social proof that these people. Then she kind of thinks in a way, oh, okay, like, he's been here before. He must go on a lot of dates, right? Like, if he knows the name of all these people. So that's another added
for better
benefit.
Or for worse, going on a lot of dates, maybe positive, maybe not.
Yeah, but at least
yeah. I was thinking, like, in relationship terms, when you think of storylines, if somebody says, this is my wife of 20 years, and before we went to that cute little Italian restaurant or Greek restaurant, I actually went there on my own to research it. I think it just adds a little bit more romance to the story. But yeah, I'm a heartless romantic or hopeless romantic. So, but no, I think I think it was a great conversation with Juan there on relationship advice, and coming from a guy who's been in the military for 22 years, he knows how to get things done. And I think it was interesting him knowing himself well enough where he said, hey, I wasn't always the alpha male, I was the beta male, and I decided to change that and have some alpha qualities or start doing some things that were more manly. And some of that started with the gym. So yeah.
It's a sliding scale, in my opinion. He didn't mention it, but off air, he said that he was slightly shorter than like the 6 foot that somebody would want. And I think if you maybe don't have all of the certain things that women would want, you have to kind of make up for it another way, right? So he has obviously great work ethic from being in the military. He looks like he takes care of himself physically. So that's how I think you have to kind of think, right? If you say, hey, I want a woman who has a certain body shape, like maybe whatever it may be, if she doesn't have a certain thing, but maybe she's like super funny, or maybe usually for guys it's, she's really attractive. She might not be the best person, but she's really attractive, right? So then guys are willing to like put up with more of her shit. And you have to kind of think as a guy the same way. Like, if maybe you're shorter, or maybe your money is not where you want it to be, you have to think to yourself like, okay, I gotta try to do something to make up for this. You're almost doing something to stand out from the competition. So definitely, again, if you want to reach out to Juan, best place to do it is the personalalignmentlab.com. He's also Personal Alignment Lab on all the socials. And then for us, if you guys want to be on a future episode, we're on all the socials. We'll have our email down below. And again, we want to talk about issues that you guys are dealing with. So let us know, and we'll be happy to talk about them.
I think that's about it, brother.
All right.
We need the email down below first for everybody to see that. If they want to be a guest on the podcast, or if they have any topics that they want us to bring up or talk about, email us down below. We appreciate all of you guys. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. Peace.
All right. Take care.